Revealed, the heartwarming transformation journey of Toys R Us that exposed its unexpected fall. In the quiet heart of Middle America, a storm brewed, thick with the kind of worry that clutched at the chest. Jake, a 12-year-old boy, sat in his favorite spot, the brightly colored aisle of Toys R Us, surrounded by plush bears and action heroes that whispered of adventures yet to come. This wasn't just a store, it was the wellspring of his dreams. His father, a dedicated veteran with calloused hands and a heart full of stories, had often brought him here. They didn't just shop for toys, they picked joy, laughter, and memories carefully, filling the cart with treasures. Those weekends were etched in Jake's mind like the perfect sketch on a blank page, but now, the familiar laughter had turned into hushed whispers. Rumors swirled that Toys R Us was in dire straits, facing closure amid the relentless tide of online shopping. It was like someone had pulled the rug from under the town's collective nostalgia. Jake's heart sank. Losing this place felt like losing a part of himself. This store wasn't just a building, it was home, filled with the echoes of happiness, where children like him formed unbreakable bonds over shared passions. Determined to fight for his sanctuary, Jake gathered his friends and family for what he hoped would be a community rally, a way to breathe life back into the atmosphere of love surrounding Toys R Us. At the center of the town's community hall, he stood before a crowd just slightly larger than a circle of friends, adrenaline racing through him. "We can't let it go. We have memories to create," he cried, his voice trembling but hopeful, igniting a flicker of hope in the audience. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Ideas began to flow, and people started to unite over the thought of a grand toy fair, an event to show their love for the store and what it represented. But as they planned, tension mounted. Old grievances bubbled up among townsfolk, torn between the past and the convenience of online shopping. Why struggle to keep the dream alive? One grumbled, words like shards of glass. Jake felt each harsh comment stab at his heart. Was their sense of togetherness crumbling? It got harder. Each failed event stung fundraising efforts that fell flat, pinched his spirit. Doubt seeped in alongside the darkness. Could he truly make a difference? Yet, just when despair threatened to consume him, an unexpected moment transformed the crowd. Stories emerged. Mothers shared tales of their children laughing over toy boxes. Fathers related how they played with the very toys that now lined the shelves. These weren't just toys but threads woven through the fabric of their lives. Realization washed over Jake like sunlight breaking through clouds. It wasn't merely about keeping a store open, it was about preserving the tapestry of love, memories, and connections that bound them all. As their tales intertwined, so did their hearts. The battle for Toys R Us was not just his, it was their fight too. With the deadline looming, Jake prepared his final speech with a fire ignited in his soul. This was his moment to rally his community one last time. Yet a heavy decision loomed on his heart, threatening every dream he had. Could he really sacrifice his aspirations for a store? Or could he somehow harmonize it all, intertwining his dream of design with the fight to save the very place that inspired him? The weight of uncertainty pressed tightly as he stepped onto the stage, the voices of the past whispering in his ear. Would they unite, or was the fight forever lost? As he stepped onto the stage, bright lights illuminated Jake's anxious face, casting shadows that danced on the walls behind him. He could feel the buzz of anticipation in the crowd, a mix of hope, doubt, and curiosity, all pinching at his heart. The room fell silent, every eye fixed on him, waiting for just the right words to breathe life back into the gathering. Jake's hands trembled, but he wrung them together, gathering his thoughts. "This isn't just about toys," he began, his voice steadying with each syllable. "This store, it's where we laughed. Where parents became heroes, and kids turned into dreamers. He paused, the emotion swelling in his chest. It's where every one of us could escape into imagination. There was a rustle among the audience, a ripple of recognition flashing across faces. Suddenly, the memories spilled out, vibrant and alive, filling the space around him like the scent of fresh popcorn at a fair. He could see in the eyes of his neighbors a glimpse of their own treasured moments, all those weekends shared, laughter echoing against the bright aisles. Then he dug deeper. I know it feels easier to click a button and get something delivered, but what about the joy? The excitement of ripping open a box with friends? It's not just a toy, it's a shared moment. His declaration hung in the air, charged and intense. One voice rang out, Mrs. Thompson, the sweet lady from down the block. Remember the Halloween sale? My daughter couldn't stop talking about those giant rubber spiders. Yes. Another voice chimed in from the back. And the Christmas mornings we spend at the store. Hope flared bright in Jake's chest. They were awakening their memories together. He could feel their collective heartbeat, like a drum rallying under the surface. But out of the crowd, a skeptical voice broke through. But it won't save the store, will it? Just remembering won't keep it alive. The word stabbed at Jake like a bitter wind. Self-doubt crept back in, but he refused to let it extinguish the fire igniting within him. No, maybe it won't guarantee anything, Jake admitted, swallowing hard. But what if we stop just reminiscing and actually take action? What if we turn this into something powerful? His gaze swept over the crowd, faces reacting, whispering to one another. We can showcase our love for this store. We can create, there can be games, art, memories made right here. Let this toy fair reflect us, our stories, our town. He saw the spark of interest flicker in the crowd. Eyes lit up with the dream of possibilities. They weren't just spectators, they were participants in something larger, something alive. As they rallied behind his vision, plans began to form. A fair should be a festival. Bouncy castles, contests, and heartfelt speeches. Memories would join hands with new beginnings. They could invite former employees, set up booths filled with handmade crafts created by the community, and gather stories from each generation. But as excitement bubbled up, a pit remained in Jake's stomach, a lingering worry. Was this enough? Could they pull this off in time? Jake turned to the crowd once more, the energy palpable. Let us show the world what we can do together. It's not just about saving the store, it's about uniting as a community. It's our stories and dreams at stake. As cheers erupted, Jake felt a rush pulsing through him. He knew the work would be massive, the stakes higher than ever, but for the first time, hope overshadowed doubt. Everyone had come together under one shared belief, yet even with adrenaline surging, a question whispered in the back of Jake's mind: could they really transform just a toy fair into a true celebration of their spirit? And what might that look like if they succeeded? As he stepped down from the stage, a warmth spread in his heart, but the uncertainty lingered. What if this was just the beginning of something much bigger? What awaited around the corner as they prepared for the fair? Jake stepped off the stage, the echoes of cheers still ringing in his ears. His heart raced, a blend of excitement and sheer disbelief coursing through him. The weight of the crowd's expectations felt heavy on his shoulders. He had ignited something within them, but now it was time to light that fire into action. His first step was to gather a team. By the end of the night, he found himself in a small cafe, the walls plastered with local art, surrounded by a handful of familiar faces. There was Maria, the crafty mom with an infectious laugh, Ben, the former store manager who still had a passion for all things toys, and Sarah, the high school art teacher who could organize chaos like a maestro conducting a symphony. Okay, what do we need to make this fair happen? Jake asked, spreading out a large sheet of paper on the table. We've got ideas. Now we need a plan. Let us break it down, Maria suggested, her brow furrowing in thought. We need booths, activities, maybe a magic show? What about inviting local vendors for some unique crafts? Ben chimed in, and we need to bring in some nostalgia. How about a display of toys from the 80s and 90s? Kids and parents will love it. Their voices overlapped, ideas sparking like fireworks, each suggestion painting a brighter picture. Jake felt a warmth spread through him. This was community. Everyone had a place, a role, a voice. They weren't just brainstorming, they were breathing life into something sacred. As the night wore on, they mapped out tasks, decided on a timeline, and even started making calls to local businesses for sponsorships. It felt right, almost magical, as enthusiasm filled every conversation. They planned fundraisers, outreach events, and gathered local talent. Jake jotted down each idea with a fervor that made his fingers ache, but reminders of doubt wove through the excitement. What if no one showed up? What if they failed? The little voice nagged at the back of Jake's mind, whispering fears that he tried to squash beneath the overwhelming sound of hope around him. When they finished for the night, he stepped outside into the cool air, looking up at the stars twinkling like a million dreams just waiting to be fulfilled. Jake took a deep breath, the scent of fresh coffee mingling with the earthy aromas of the night. In this moment, amidst the swirling doubts, he held on to a thread of belief. Next week, we set up a community meeting, Jake announced, feeling the adrenaline surge back. We need to rally more people, get everyone involved. This isn't just our project, it's for the entire town. Maria smiled, her eyes bright. Yes. And we can create a social media page to keep everyone updated and excited. Turkey vultures of responsibility circled overhead, but he brushed them aside. Each step forward was another moment of connection, another string tying him to his neighbors. Together they were a patchwork of heart and history, weaving ties stronger than doubts could ever break. As Jake walked home, the moon illuminated his path, a beacon of determination. He knew each day leading to the fair would be a test, but with every meeting and every moment shared, they forged a bond that felt unbreakable. However, as he turned the key in his front door, a chilling thought stopped him cold. What if the good intentions and memories didn't translate into action? What if the fair flopped, and their hard work faded into distant echoes? With uncertainty lingering like shadows in his heart, he stepped inside, ready to face the challenge ahead. The toy fair was more than just an event, it was a revival, a testament that they could fight for what they loved. But could their flame sustain the journey ahead? Jake settled into bed, sleep barely brushing his eyelids. He could almost hear the whispers of hope calling out to him. Would they be able to rise to the occasion, or would fear snuff it out before it truly began? The following week felt like a whirlwind. Jake woke up each day with butterflies in his belly. Today was the day of the community meeting, the moment when they would share the vision of the fair with everyone. His morning routine was frantic. Coffee brewed loudly, the smell rich and inviting, while he paced in the kitchen, rehearsing his speech in his head. When he finally arrived at the community center, Jake's heart raced as he gazed at the smiling faces trickling in. Parents, kids, older folks carrying years of memories, they were all there, each soul a testament to the community he hoped to inspire. The room filled quickly, colorful chatter bubbling up like a pot boiling over. Jake took a deep breath before stepping up to the podium. "Thank you all for coming," he began, his voice trembling slightly. "I'm excited to share our plans for the toy fair." As he spoke, he felt the warmth of support envelop him. He told them about booths filled with local crafts, nostalgic toy exhibits shaking loose forgotten memories, and plans for games and performances that would fill the day with joy. A wave of positivity washed over the crowd as the ideas flowed. Nods of agreement and smiles sparkled in the dim light, and Jake couldn't help but feel a surge of hope. "This is more than an event," he continued, feeling the courage swell inside him. "It's about coming together, revitalizing our town, and making memories that last." As he wrapped up, Sarah stood up and shared her thoughts on how their art teachers could host workshops that allowed families to create something special together. Ben offered to set up a vintage toy corner, where kids could learn about the treasures from the past. Maria even suggested a community talent show, spotlighting hidden talents just waiting to shine. "Let us not forget to include everyone's ideas," Jake emphasized, lifting his hands slightly. Every voice matters here. This fair is ours. The buzz in the room shifted from anxious energy to a vibrant enthusiasm that filled every corner. Jake felt the weight of responsibility lessen as he realized they were truly becoming a team. Each person involved was as vital as the next. With a final shout of excitement, they formed groups to take on tasks, each task a stepping stone toward their goal. When the meeting wrapped up, Jake stood at the door, smiling as people filed out. "I can't believe we're doing this," he whispered to Sarah, who stood beside him, her eyes shimmering with anticipation. "Believe it," she replied, her voice strong. "This is just the beginning. We're building something beautiful here." But as the warmth of the meeting faded into the nighttime chill, doubts began to creep back in. What if they couldn't get enough vendors on board? What if they didn't have the budget to pull off all these ideas? Jake wrestled with these concerns as he headed home, the joyous chatter from the meeting still ringing in his ears. In the quiet of his living room, he sat down and took a deep breath, staring at the half-finished plans scattered across the table. Could they keep the momentum going? Would the townsfolk rally around this dream and support it wholeheartedly? He leaned back, the shadows of doubt whispering even louder now. Just then, a notification popped up on his phone. It was a response from a local business he'd reached out to weeks ago, showing interest in being a part of the fair. His heart leapt. This could be the spark they needed. As excitement bubbled within him, another notification chimed. It was a message from Maria. "Let us not lose sight of what this is about. We're in this together." Jake smiled, the warmth of her words lifting the weight off his heart. Maybe, just maybe, they could navigate the chaos of fears and uncertainties together. In the midst of the possibilities, one question lingered in his mind: how could they ensure that this fair would not just be a one-time event, but an annual celebration that would revive traditions and unite generations? The following days blurred together in a whirlwind of planning and preparation. Each morning, Jake would rise with renewed determination, fueled by the promise of what was to come. As the town rallied behind the idea of the fair, he began to glimpse a path forward. With every conversation, every brainstorming session, he felt their excitement grow, but doubts lingered in the corners of his mind. What if one small detail unraveled everything? What if rainy weather or low turnout crushed their dreams? Still, as he walked to the community center for another planning meeting, he focused on the hope that flickered like a candle in the darkness. Inside the center, laughter and chatter filled the air. Sarah, Ben, and Maria were already mapping out the event layout, their heads bent together, their energy infectious. "Jake! Come look at this!" Maria called out, waving him over. He joined them, his heart swelling at the sight of their ideas coming to life. Colorful drawings of booths and activity areas sprawled across the table. Each suggestion raised was met with enthusiasm, like a game of catch that seemed endless. "All right, so how can we get the word out?" Jake asked, taking a seat beside them. Ben spoke quickly, his excitement bubbling over. "Social media. We can create an event page, and we've got to hit every corner of town with flyers. I'll get my printer to run some copies for us. Let us not forget our local radio station. They'd be willing to do a shout-out for us," Sarah added, jotting down notes. "And we could have a booth at the farmer's market to reach more people." Jake felt a surge of gratitude for their commitment. It was so much more than he had ever imagined. The community wasn't just supporting him, they were becoming a part of something bigger. They were weaving together threads of creativity, joy, and unity. As the meeting wrapped up, fatigue settled in. Jake walked home under the glow of the streetlights, the cool air brushing against his skin. But as he stepped into his house, a text pinged on his phone. It was from an old friend, Calvin, who had moved away years ago. "Hey, Jake. Heard about the fair you're organizing. I'd love to be involved. Let us chat." His heart hopped. Calvin had a network of contacts, he could help secure more vendors and local musicians. Things were starting to come together, piece by piece. Feeling an exhilarating rush, Jake sat down at his dining table, different than just days ago. Now littered with colorful sketches and contact lists, it seemed alive with possibility. He glanced at the clock. It was late, but he had to draft an email to Calvin about their ideas. Just as he settled into his chair, another message came through, this one from Sarah. "Jake, can you meet me tomorrow to discuss something important? I think we need to clarify some roles for the fair." A knot tightened in his stomach. Were they having doubts? Had their excitement faded? What could warrant such urgency? His mind raced with questions as he replied, "Sure. What's up?" The night grew still around him, and for a moment, he felt the weight of uncertainty return. Would they be able to combat whatever challenges lay ahead? As the soft glow of his desk lamp illuminated the plans before him, one thought echoed through his mind: what if the journey ahead uncovered something even more significant than he had anticipated? He took a deep breath, steeling himself for their meeting. Whatever lay ahead, they had come this far together, and as he closed his eyes, he wondered what it truly meant to build a community. Would the fair become a catalyst for change? The next morning dawned bright and crisp, the kind of day that promised possibilities. As Jake made his way to the coffee shop where he was supposed to meet Sarah, he felt an exhilarating buzz in the air, but the knot in his stomach was still there. The image of Sarah's serious text played over in his mind again and again. What kind of roles needed clarifying? Walking into the coffee shop, the rich aroma of freshly brewed coffee wrapped around him like a warm hug. He spotted Sarah sitting at their usual corner table, a look of determination etched into her features. As he approached, she offered a small smile, but Jake could see the weight on her shoulders. "Hey, Jake. Thanks for meeting me," she began, her voice steady. "I wanted to talk about the fair and some ideas I've had." "Of course, what's on your mind?" he asked, sitting down and cradling his coffee cup in his hands, searching her face for any clues. She took a deep breath. "I've been thinking about our roles. We've been all so excited about the planning, but I think we need to think seriously about how we divide the responsibilities. It feels crucial to the success of the event." Jake nodded, understanding where she was coming from. "Yeah, that makes sense. We need to make sure everyone knows what they're doing and feels involved." A flicker of relief crossed her face. "Exactly. I'm worried that if we don't lay everything out clearly, someone might drop the ball. We can't afford any slip-ups." A wave of empathy washed over him. She was right. The thrill of untamed creativity often danced closely with the chaos of miscommunication. He leaned in, eager now. "Let's figure it out together. Who takes care of what? What needs the most attention?" Her eyes sparkled with excitement as they began brainstorming. They listed out the major roles: logistics, volunteers coordination, vendor relationships, marketing. There were so many moving parts, and each needed care. Midway through, Jake noticed a familiar face at the counter: Ben, who had arrived to grab some coffee. Ben waved and ambled over, sensing the seriousness of their conversation. "Hey. What's going on?" "Just planning roles for the fair," Sarah explained, gesturing toward the napkin with their notes sprawled across it. Ben's brow furrowed as he took a seat. "Roles? I thought everyone was just pitching in." "That's what I thought too," Jake responded. "But if we're going to pull this off, we need to be more structured." It didn't take long for their discussion to flow. The trio tossed around ideas, hopes, and worries. The stakes felt higher, yet there was an undeniable electricity in their conversation. They felt like a well-woven tapestry, where each thread mattered. When they listed out the tasks, Jake was surprised to find how supportive their group had become. Each person seemed eager to take ownership of their piece of the puzzle. Ben volunteered to handle logistics, and Sarah pushed herself for marketing outreach. Jake grinned at the sights of their determination blooming again, but just as they began to feel the excitement of potential, Sarah suddenly paused. "You know, There's also something we need to define outside of roles: how we deal with setbacks. It's almost certain we'll face some. We should accept that now. Her admission hung in the air, weighty and profound. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Would they be ready to face the challenges looming ahead? The conversation took on a more serious tone. What if the problems they faced were bigger than they imagined? Had they accounted for everything? As they sat there, a flicker of doubt crossed their minds, but so did a spark of resilience. They looked at each other, silently affirming their commitment. Whatever it took, they would face it together. As Jake finished his coffee, a sudden realization hit him: this fair was more than an event. It was a reflection of their community, a chance for everyone to come together and support each other. But just as he was about to share this revelation, his phone buzzed again. Another message from Calvin. Got some serious ideas for the fair. Jake's heart raced. What did Calvin want to bring to the table? It felt like the landscape of their plans was widening unexpectedly, hinting at something important. Would it be what they needed to elevate their vision? Jake's pulse quickened in anticipation. Jake stared at his phone, the screen lighting up his face. Calvin's message felt urgent, almost like a siren calling them to shore. Who's that? Sarah asked, her curiosity piqued. Calvin, Jake said. He wants to discuss some ideas for the fair. I think he might have a new angle we need to consider. Sarah and Ben exchanged glances. Calvin? Didn't he have that wild idea last year about the scavenger hunt? Ben inquired. Yeah, Jake chuckled, recalling Calvin's manic enthusiasm and their bizarre brainstorming session. He's unpredictable but gets people talking. Maybe he's spotted an opportunity we haven't. Should we meet him? Sarah suggested, her interest visibly rising. Jake nodded, typing a quick response. The thought of diving back into planning, especially if it meant tapping into Calvin's energy, rekindled that initial buzz of excitement. Let's give it a shot. Can't hurt to hear what he has to say. Moments later, they agreed to meet at the park, the very heart of their community. As they made their way outside, the sun warmed their shoulders, and a gentle breeze whispered through the trees. Jake felt invigorated not just by the idea of the fair, but by the sense of unity growing among them. Arriving at the park, they spotted Calvin seated on a bench, animatedly sketching in a notebook. He looked up, his face lighting up like a kid at play. Hey, you guys made it. Wait till you hear this. As they gathered around, Calvin flipped to a page full of vibrant drawings, wild colors bursting from the page. I was thinking, what if we add an interactive zone? Something where kids can build their own toys. We could partner with local artists and craft people. Jake's heart raced. That's actually brilliant, Calvin. Sarah clapped her hands together. I love it. It gives a hands-on experience. It would definitely draw families in. Calvin's eyes sparkled. And think about the marketing. We can show the creation process on social media. Imagine people seeing kids making things and sharing it everywhere. It'd be huge. Ben leaned forward, catching the energy. Not to mention, it gives everyone a chance to leave their mark on the fair, not just as spectators but as creators. They bounced ideas back and forth, the air thick with excitement. Each thought sparked another, building on previous ideas like a growing wave. The doubts that had threaded through their earlier conversation dissipated in the warmth of possibility, but just as they were about to solidify the plan, Calvin's expression shifted. There's one thing, he said quietly, his voice dipping. Logistically, could we struggle with space? I mean, we don't want to spread ourselves too thin trying to fit this in with everything else. The excitement faltered for a second, the weight of reality settling in. Jake glanced at Sarah, who showed a flash of concern. He's right. We can't afford to stretch ourselves out too much, especially with roles still needing clarity. Maybe we can prioritize. Assess what's doable within the time frame, Ben suggested, his brow furrowed in thought. We can always make adjustments. Jake took a steadying breath, the adrenaline of their momentum catching in his throat. We can do this, but we'll need to be smart. What if we run a pilot project? Just a small section to see how it flows? The idea hung in the air, tentative but hopeful. It was a way to gauge the response without overwhelming themselves. Slowly, nods of agreement emerged among them. Jake felt the camaraderie sealing once more, a bond reaffirmed. They were stepping into unknown territory together, and while fear lurked at the edges, each person's resolve shone bright, illuminating the path ahead. "Let us draft a plan tonight," Sarah said, determination filling her voice. "We can lay out what we need and see if it's possible." As they wrapped up their meeting, excitement surged through Jake. But amidst the hope, a nagging question danced in the back of his mind. What if their bold move didn't go as planned? Walking away, he couldn't shake the thought. They were in deep now, and every step felt like a leap into uncharted waters. Little did they know, challenges would rain down faster than they anticipated. Would their bond hold stronger, or start to fray? They were on a journey that promised to test them, and the fair was just the beginning. As the sun dipped beyond the horizon, glowing hues of orange and pink painted the sky like an artist's canvas. Jake, Sarah, and Ben walked back to their neighborhood, their conversation bubbling with ideas. Each step solidified their commitment, bonding them like threads being woven into a tapestry. But beneath that collective excitement, Jake felt a tight knot forming in his stomach. What if we can't pull this off? He thought, pushing the worry aside. It was too late to turn back now. They were in this together, no matter what challenges lay ahead. Later that night, the trio gathered at Jake's kitchen table, laptops and notebooks strewn in front of them. A half-eaten pizza lay abandoned as they dove into organizing their ideas. Jake's fingers danced across the keyboard, while Sarah scribbled notes vigorously. Ben leaned back, occasionally chiming in with a suggestion that sparked fresh ideas. "Okay, so we start small with the interactive zone," Jake summarized. "We can offer painting classes, simple crafts, maybe a building challenge. That should attract attention but not overwhelm us." He glanced at Sarah, who nodded in agreement. "Exactly. Then we build from there, depending on how well it flows," she added, enthusiasm bubbling just beneath the surface. Ben chewed his lip, deep in thought. "Let us not ignore the layout of the fair. We need enough room for movement. If it gets crowded it might feel chaotic." The atmosphere grew tense, shadows playing across their faces. Jake felt the weight of Ben's words settle heavily. "True. We need to think about what visitors want. A family-friendly vibe is crucial." After hours of brainstorming and tweaking their proposal, Sarah finally leaned back, stretching arms above her head. "All right, I think we have a solid plan," she declared, her features illuminated by the soft kitchen lights. "Time to present it to the others." Jake hesitated, glancing out the window at the street, now shadowed and quiet. What if they don't get it? What if they think we're pushing too hard? Ben caught Jake's eye. "We can't think like that. We're a team, right? We believe in this idea. And if it doesn't work out, we find a way to make it better together." Jake swallowed, a surge of gratitude washing over him. "You're right. We just have to put it out there and see how everyone reacts." That night, the small circle of friendship felt fortified. They meticulously crafted their presentation, ready to share it at the next community meeting. Jake allowed himself a moment of hope. Maybe, just maybe, this could be the fresh start the fair needed, but at the back of his mind lingered a persistent worry. What if his attachment to this idea clouded his judgment? What if the negative feedback fractured their circle even before it began to grow? As they wrapped up their meeting, the door rattled suddenly. It was Calvin, his wild hair even messier than before. "I just had another crazy thought," he exclaimed, bursting into the kitchen. "What is it?" they asked in unison, curiosity piqued once more. their laughter easing that layer of tension. Calvin leaned closer, lowering his voice dramatically. We could create a treasure map of the entire fair, with clues leading to various interactive areas. Imagine the excitement. Jake exchanged a glance with Ben and Sarah. Perhaps they were in for more than they ever anticipated. The intensity of this newfound direction sent a thrill through him. As they erupted into another round of brainstorming, a sense of urgency filled the room. But with all the excitement, one question echoed in Jake's mind. Was this approach truly what the community needed, or was it just another passing whim? Tomorrow would reveal the answers, but they would need to brace themselves for the unpredictability that lay ahead. Would the community rally behind their vision, or would they crumble under the weight of expectation? As dawn broke the next morning, Jake opened his eyes to the soft light streaming through his bedroom window. A mixture of excitement and nervousness twisted in his stomach. Today was the day they would present their ideas to the community. He threw off the covers, his heart racing with thoughts of what could happen. After a quick shower and a bite of toast, he paced nervously around the house. Would everyone love their plan? Or was it too ambitious? Each scenario played out like a movie in his mind. He had to shake the worry off. Today was about hope, about bringing something new to their community. He met Sarah and Ben in the park, a neutral ground buzzing with energy as families took morning walks. The scent of fresh coffee wafted through the air from a nearby vendor. They all seemed to feel the weight of the moment. It wasn't just about presenting an idea, it was about stepping up for their community, a commitment they made together. Ready? Ben asked, his voice steady, but Jake could hear the undercurrent of apprehension. Yeah, let us just take it one step at a time. We'll handle whatever comes our way, Jake replied, trying to sound brave. They walked to the community center, the nerves palpable. As they entered the hall, Jake's gaze swept over the small crowd. A few faces were familiar neighbors, parents of friends. But there were also many unknowns. Would these people be willing to embrace something different? Each click of the projector carried the weight of their dreams. Jake's voice wavered as he began to speak, but the enthusiasm in his heart pushed him through. The first few slides went smoothly. He felt Sarah's encouraging nods and saw Ben's reassuring grin out of the corner of his eye. That positive energy lit him up, fueling his confidence. Then he reached the slide that outlined the treasure map idea. His heart raced as he explained how it could guide families through the fair, sparking curiosity and fun. You could almost hear the murmurs ripple through the crowd, a mixture of skepticism and intrigue. Is this really what people want? An older man called out, eyebrows furrowed in concern. Jake didn't shy away from the question. We're aiming to create something that brings us together, something fun for every generation. We know changes can be hard, but we believe it's time. His words lingered in the air, an appeal for support that felt as heavy as a brick. The man nodded, but Jake could see the furrowed brows of others. Were they still uncertain? As he wrapped up his presentation, the applause was tentative, a burst of hope sprinkled with trepidation. The feeling was overwhelming. They'd taken the first step into unknown territory. But it was Calvin who broke the silence when he blurted, "What do we have to lose? Let us give this a shot." Jake felt something shift in the room. One by one, people began to voice their support. Ideas started to blossom, suggestions flew, and laughter filled the space. The tight grip of anxiety on Jake's heart began to loosen. However, just as the atmosphere grew lighter, a voice called out from the back. What will happen if it doesn't work? It was a skeptical tone, pointed and sharp. The room hushed, and Jake's heart sank again. Was he prepared to answer that? Would they crumble if the plan didn't go as envisioned? But then he thought about the bond they had forged, the love they had for their community. Even if it doesn't work the first time, Jake replied slowly, we'll learn. We'll adapt. We'll keep trying together. That's what community means, right? The nods of agreement started again, like a wave washing over the crowd. Hope ignited, and he could see the embers of excitement growing, but deep down, Jake knew they weren't out of the woods yet. In a world where expectations loomed large, would they be able to rise amidst potential failures? As conversations bubbled around him, Jake felt a scenario unfold in his mind, a fear that dug deep into him. How would they pick up the pieces if their dreams shattered? The questions hovered, relentless and demanding. How far were they prepared to go for this fair? As ready as they seemed, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of something unpredictable. He caught the eyes of Sarah and Ben. Together, they would face whatever came next. They would push through, step by step, hand in hand. The community deserved this chance, and so did they. But as they stepped outside into the cool breeze, Jake couldn't help but wonder what hurdles awaited them along the way. Would they be strong enough when the real challenges finally surfaced? The day of the toy fair arrived like the opening night of a big show that everyone had been waiting for. The sun shone brightly over the town square, and the air was filled with the laughter of children and the warm scent of popcorn. Jake stood at the entrance, a surge of emotion bubbling in his chest as he took in the scene, the colorful booths set up, families milling about, and smiles lighting up faces. This was it after all their hard work, the dream was coming to life. As the clock struck 10, the fair opened to a cheering crowd. Jake glanced nervously at Sarah and Ben, who stood by his side, a mix of excitement and jitters on their faces. They shared a reassuring glance, a nod that spoke volumes. They were in this together. The interactive zone, fueled by Calvin's idea, was buzzing with activity. Kids gathered in small groups, crafting their own toys, laughter rising like music around them. The art teacher led painting sessions, and a local musician played cheerful tunes that swayed everyone's spirits. It felt magical, like they had woven a tapestry of joy that rippled through the air. "Look at that!" Jake exclaimed, pointing at a booth where children were exchanging handmade toys. "They're creating memories." And then, just like that, he saw a familiar face, an older man from the back of the community meeting, the one who had questioned the plan. He was smiling, watching his granddaughter paint with joyful abandon. The realization sparked like fireworks in Jake's heart. This wasn't just an event, it was a rekindling of their town's spirit, a revival of the connections they had almost lost. As they moved through the fair, Jake noticed how every booth resonated with stories. It was alive with laughter, shared nostalgia, and acceptance of the future. Stories of parents who had previously stood on the sidelines now spilled out, each one weaving through the fabric of community. Then a hush fell over the crowd, everyone gathered around the makeshift stage for the talent show. Jake felt his stomach flip with nervous excitement as friends and neighbors showcased their hidden talents, their passions laid bare for all to see. One by one, voices rang out, each performance igniting the crowd's joy, claps echoing like thunder. It was a beautiful reminder of what it meant to belong, but then, as with all triumphs, shadows lurked. A thick cloud reduced the mood as a gray rain began to trickle overhead, and apprehension swept across the crowd. Will this ruin everything? Jake thought, but before he could succumb to dread, he saw Sarah, quick on her feet, rallying volunteers. Ben jumped into action, directing people under nearby tents to keep the spirit alive. "Let us keep going," Sarah shouted, rallying the crowd. "We didn't let doubts crush us before, let us not let a little rain do it now." Emboldened by her spirit, Jake grabbed a microphone. "You heard her. We're here to celebrate. Who cares if it rains? Let us keep making memories." Cheers erupted as the fairgoers rallied together, laughter piercing through the heavy drops. There was no backing down, they were all in this together. The fair wasn't just a space, it was their hearts connected. Hours later, as the event wrapped up, Jake looked around with tears of joy in his eyes. They did it. The feel of community surged all around him like a campfire illuminating the dark. He spotted the man from earlier approaching him. "You know, kid, I doubted this whole thing," he confessed, a smile breaking through his stoic demeanor. "But today brought back something special." Jake choked up, but managed to respond, "It's all of us together. We became something bigger today." As the evening sun dipped low, the crowd dispersed, leaving behind laughter echoing in the air. The fair wasn't merely a fleeting moment. It had stitched together families, reignited bonds, and transformed doubts into unwavering belief. Jake, Sarah, and Ben stood at the center of it all, hearts full. They had turned fear into unity, breathless from the journey but stronger together. They looked at each other, eyes sparkling with hope. "We can do this again, can't we?" Jake asked, his heart bursting with excitement for the future. "Absolutely." Sarah grinned, while Ben added with gusto, "And next time, we'll make it even better." And as the stars twinkled in the night sky above, Jake understood. It wasn't just about the toys, or even the fair. It was about courage and love, about banding together to fight for what mattered, shaping a world where each story intertwined with the next. Jake felt the warmth of belonging wrap around him like a blanket. This is what community felt like. Now is the time to keep this journey alive. You need to subscribe now to our channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories and journeys that transform hearts. Leave a like now to fuel the algorithm and keep the stories flowing. Your support means everything to us. Comment below with your feelings about this ending, your own stories of connection, and how this fair touched your heart. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need a reminder of the power of community. Don't wait not even one more second. True fans understand the importance of standing together, and your support will help bring hope to so many more.